Well, I am currently in the process of editing my next video in the Life Beyond the Curtain series. So this will be number 3, but I wanted to go a little bit off the cusp with it. There's a YouTuber by the name of Hat Flying that I've come across his videos, and they very, very highly resonate with me and things that I have experienced in my life. So I kind of wanted to just, feel that tether of inspiration and kind of follow it. One of the big things that he talks about in his videos of life experiences, and we've kind of seen him come out of this, which, yay, he lived in his car for a good long period. And that was something that I experienced as well. However, I was a bit more fortunate than him because even at my loneliest in life, I still had people. I still had some form of aid. And despite the fact that, yes, there were long stints of time I would be living in my car, it wasn't always the case. So when I sit and think about it, listening to his story, which is very much of the same vein, but his was more of an absolution where there was no other option. It kind of makes me look back and reflect on those moments in my life and remind myself how lucky I was. Because I always talk about how grateful I am and how lucky I am, but there are a few times where I reflect back on my life and acknowledge how lucky I was in my most unlucky moments. I'm using that word a lot. Lucky. And I feel it. Honestly, there are so many times in my life that I shouldn't have had the outcome that I ended up having. You could look at this from a moral ethic thing where, just based upon, how I've been in the world, there's no way I deserve X, Y, Z. Or you could just put it up to, economically. It's like, man, I was so completely destitute. How did I, manage to pull my head out of my ass to gain breath to be able to continue life, how did I get out of that financial situation? And I would say that of the financial times, half of it was because of other people in my life that were a support system in those moments. Whereas the other half, pure luck, just so happened to do a DoorDash run where the guy wanted to tip extremely generously. Or, I would be working on TaskRabbit and just go a month without even a single job. And if I did even have a job, the job to perform costs more out of my pocket than I would actually get back in revenue, kind of thing. And then there would be a moment where there would just be a job that was over $1,000, one job. And, it was going to be a pain in the ass, but I loved those types of jobs where I could just hone in for several days, just focusing on that one job. And knowing that I didn't have to worry and consider about other jobs and talking to other clients and maybe moving my price point around just to encourage more people. It's after a while, these things happening, there was a point that I came to in my life was I have to acknowledge how lucky I am. And I have my own translation for that, which I understand a lot of people may not agree with, which is perfectly fine. Like I said before, use whatever terminology that we feel good with to kind of make sense of the world around us. And that ultimately is by the grace of God. I can't really fathom any other explanation for the supreme amount of love and support and just pure worldly coincidental happenstance that has come across to me in my life at just the right moments. And it's one of those things that kind of when I sit and acknowledge it, it really humbles me. Because it's it tells me that I need to be doing more for me and not really concern myself with the world so much, because that's something I fall into all the time, where I end up in those particular situations because I'm not focusing on the core needs of my life. I'm more so looking out in such a way to where how I can benefit from the world. How can I move up, as opposed to, hey, what's the baseline? You know, like I remember, you know, being bad with money, even when I was living in my car. Some of that was situational, you know. You don't have a refrigerator, you don't, you know, have much storage area for food, let alone like it being properly stored in a hot ass car in the middle of summer in California. You know, like it just makes sense that more often than not you're just going to be getting fast food. But did I have other options? Yeah, I could have, you know, gone and gotten fresh fruits and vegetables and just ate it raw, you know. Like those are things I could have done, but I didn't do it because, you know, like the convenience and whatnot. And that even expands out into like when you're at the worst in your life and you just need that momentary pick me up, just one more pick me up. Yeah, the fast food helps. Does it truly help? No, obviously not. But in the moment, you know, of having food that kind of like settles whatever urges of hunger, and that, you know, addictive fast food can be, like it also tingles that sense in us. So yeah, it just kind of was a product of the time, of the environment in which I, you know, of my reality was. And I've been at a position in my life where like fast food as an option is not really a thing. You know, it's like there's the economic side of it where it's like, dude, fast food, you might as well just go to a restaurant, and then you might as well go to a restaurant, you might as well just cook at home. And ever since, you know, humble me, grateful me, ever since I bought my house, that's what we've been doing. We've been cooking at home far more than going out or, you know, getting pre-made stuff. And kind of as time has gone on, you know, it's we've noticed that now the fresh stuff, like, oh, it's going to cost you quite a bit more to make food fresh as opposed to just buying something quick and easy from the store. Like, oh, it's already pre-prepped, you just got to kind of heat it up, basically. You know, those types of things are still pretty prevalent. And, you know, it's encroaching us to kind of, you know, hone in on the worst food. And food is like something that, I guess to kind of touch on, like, because I do this in every video, to kind of touch on my weirdo religious stuff, this newfound blah, blah, blah. You know, going over different religious texts from different groups over the years, I've noticed there's a particular pattern of fasting. There's a particular pattern of watching very specifically what people eat. And this will be a part of a much bigger video down the line. But for now, the reason why, I'll explain it this way. The reason why these things are so important is because, you know, it's that old adage, you are what you eat. You know, like if you eat food, you're inviting whatever that food is within you. And it's not always good. Like fast food, you know, it's just pure garbage. Like, let's be honest, like they're able to dress it up enough to make it taste good. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like I like myself a Baconator every now and then. I don't do fast. Let me just say this real quick off of that statement. I do not eat fast food anymore. The only fast food that I will eat until I find a reason not to are bean burritos from Del Taco. That's about it. But I don't eat fast food. I have reasons for that I will not say out loud because you guys already think I'm crazy enough. So anyway. But yeah, so I don't do the fast food anymore because it's just pure crap, right? And one of the things is, like, a lot of our medications and a lot of like ingredients and preservatives or whatever stuff that's in food, there's a lot of things that our government endorses that, hey, thumbs up. Yeah, this company made this thing and it's food grade. You're allowed to eat it. Like things that the FDA approve of, right? So I think it's so bizarre how gasoline is so bad, petrol is so bad, oil is so bad for the entire world that entire governments and organizations rally against it, blah, 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 right? But petrol byproducts are made and utilized in mass, and then they go directly into our bodies. it's just mind-numbing. Like, you're telling me that petrol, oil, is so terrible, but byproducts of oil, we're going to give a thumbs up and allow our bodies to consume that. These forever chemicals that essentially once they get in, they never come out. And then you have an entire mass of people that are just physically ill, mentally fucked up, all because of these strange chemicals that we put into our bodies that we know very little about, but the powers that be, the ones that control the land, give us the thumbs up and tell us it's safe. You know, it's like there's a lot of medicines that are like that. There's a lot of food that like has shit like that. Like, we're talking like the red 40s and shit, like food dyes or derived from petrol byproducts. And it's like, how is this safe for anybody? You know, I could see it in a combustion engine, right? But the exhaust that comes out of that can't be fucking good, right? So it's like everyone is like, yeah. We all have a little bit of the truth, but the powers that be will take that truth and manipulate it in such a way to where, like, we can't be too sure of what is actually real. So we rely on experts. And a lot of these experts that find their way in corporations and the government that keep giving us a thumbs up, and we're completely blind to it. It's like, we know that these things are bad, full stop. So just because someone at the FDA signed off allowing it to be in our food, despite the fact that we know it's bad and they know it's bad, like, I feel like I'm in crazy town. But the best that I can say is that I have absorbed this information, these ancient teachings, if you will, and I've tried applying them to my own life. And I've noticed results, whether that be of some sort of mental placebo effect that my body's just reacting positively because that's the expectation that I have, or if it's actually something. I mean, case in point, I've lost a tremendous amount of weight when I started, cutting out the fast food. This was several years ago. That alone, like getting rid of like sugary sodas and getting rid of like fast food, and that helped a tremendous amount. And then even moving on from there, it's just like more recently with this whole like, well, I don't want to do, there are certain groups of foods I just completely stay away from. And because it's hard to live in the modern world with all of the conveniences that we have and to completely, utterly like stay away from all of this. It's very difficult. So I've kind of pinpointed, what I'm eating, what I'm not eating based on a few factors. One of which being, whenever it says this contains a bioengineered food ingredient, I just stay away from it. There are certain foods or whatever, if the ingredients include some sort of aluminum sulfate or sodium or aluminum, whatever. If there's aluminum in it, I also try to stay away from it. Like, what business does aluminum have in my body? I mean, there are studies that trace back Alzheimer's to having, connections and issues with aluminum. And I'm already being forgetful and whatever. So, you know what? It's like, it's not like I need it anyway. It's like, just screw it, What if it isn't bad? Who cares? All I know is that it's just better not in me. And then the other one is, the petrol stuff, things that are derivative of petrol products. That one's really hard. So it requires a lot of labeling, reading and stuff. And there's petrol stuff in everything. So that makes it kind of difficult. So it's not like an absolution thing. It's like a rule of guidelines I try very strictly to follow, but there is wiggle room, and that just boils down to intentionality, as I like to refer to it. Am I overindulging in these things to extreme excess, or am I managing to make sure it's rather minimum? That's more so what it is. I'm working within realistic means. I mean, I still got to feed myself and my family. I'm just a little bit more attentive about the things that we put in our bodies. Oh, I'm the one that does all like the cooking and stuff at home. That's where all that comes from. So if I'm going to be the one doing the cooking, I'm going to kind of try to do what I can to make sure that everything's good, But that doesn't mean that we're just going to be eating sticks and leaves and rabbit food all day. Like, that's not what that means. And then the other one, I see this a lot in dairy products, especially shredded cheeses, and they basically put a mold inhibitor in it. And on one hand, like, oh yeah, that's great, that's cool, right? Yeah, so they're putting like these antibiotics and stuff in our food, or mold inhibitors, as you could say. Well, what happens when that gets inside your body? That can affect your gut microbiome. And it's like, okay, so that's probably not a good idea. Sure, it makes this cheese shelf stable, and yeah, it's probably considered food grade because it's not going to outright kill you the moment it touches your stomach, but it's going to do disasters to other parts of your body. So whenever I see that there's a mold inhibitor in like cheese, I just stay away from it. And that's typically like factory shredded cheese. Block cheeses, you know, that's not really an issue. And yeah, so it's like, I've even done things like I wouldn't normally ever eat. Like, I used to hate Greek yogurt. Like, something about the chalky taste and texture about it, the moment I put it on my tongue, it just made me feel ill. And I think that was more of a mental placebo than anything else, because that was my own prescribed notions of reality. And I, you know, was like, oh, Greek yogurt, it's this healthy yogurt, ew. And so I wouldn't eat it, right? But I would eat all like the just hardly considered to be yogurt, Yoplait. It's just basically like breakfast pudding. I don't know. It's like, it's definitely not healthier than the Icelandic yogurt or the Greek yogurt, right? And I haven't used margarine in years. It's like, I mean, I still use cooking oil for some things, yeah, sure, but margarine, like, no, we just go straight butter. We don't do any of this, I can't believe it's not. We don't do any of this vegetable oil spread. Like, no, it's like, like butter. We're keep it up with butter. And all of this is just to say that I have noticed a better reaction from it. And so the next part that this conversation is leading to is the whole fasting element. I always thought it was the dumbest thing in the world, you know? I mean, there had to be something to it, but it always felt like it was religiously tied. And for the most part, it is, in how we see most fasting in the world. But there's also a medical element to it as well. Like, your body goes through something when you're not eating. And growing up, living in America, it's like we schedule our days based upon meals. Wake up, meal. Midday, meal. At night, meal. And then, maybe some snacks in between. It's like there's like this heavy emphasis on hitting all three each day. And it was kind of inadvertently, like, it just kind of happened in my life to where I would work to the point where I would have no choice but to skip meals. And so what ended up happening is I would snack a lot throughout the day when I could. And then I would have really big meals to kind of essentially make up for lost time. And that's kind of how it was for me for a very long time. And then over time, things change. I don't eat nearly as much as I used to. I probably have one meal a day and a couple snacks throughout the day, and that's about it. And I feel fucking great, right? But I did try the fasting thing. I was like, let me see what this is about. Because yes, when you fast for a certain amount of time and your body's like gone through its digestive stuff and you're essentially empty, it activates. And remember, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm crazy. Like, don't listen to me, you know. But if you like a nugget, maybe search for it and yourself and come up to your own conclusions. But yeah, there's like a process that your body goes through when you're fasting. And I went through that, and I was bitchy, moaning, complaining. I was irritated because I love my food, man. I like having like a nice amount of food in my stomach and digesting it, all that jazz. But I noticed, like, afterwards, once I was done, it was a 36-hour fast. And when I was done with it, first thing I had, I think, was some mandarin oranges and a piece of bread, a stone fire. We called it in Afghanistan, we called it foot bread. But yeah, that's the first thing I had, and it tasted great. Don't get me wrong. I was hungry. I was starving. But there was one thing I had noticed leading up to it, is that, and this is in peak summer, right, out here in wonderful sunny Las Vegas, I noticed that the days leading up to it, I had a really, really hard time regulating my temperature. It's like people would feel my head, feel my arms, and they're like, man, you're cold. And I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm burning up. And I was constantly sweating. Didn't have necessarily a fever or anything, but it's like I myself felt like I could not cool down for the life of me. But if I put a fan on me, then I felt freezing. So it was like the weirdest feeling. It's like, what? But here's the thing. I did the fast, and then the day when the fast was done and I was slowly eating again, I felt great. And it was the weirdest thing, because like since then, and it was like probably like not even a month ago, probably 3 weeks ago, I did that fast, and like even since then I still feel great. Like that weird temperature regulation thing has not been an issue at all. So it's like, it ultimately makes me feel there's got to be something to this. There's definitely got to be something to, obviously, watching what I eat, eating, exiting certain things out of my diet, just like kind of like, having limits on what I'm going to allow in my body, and also taking time to physically fast out a lot of nonsense and let my body kind of do what my body is supposed to do. So these are all like weird, strange revelations in life, and it's like I've gotten all the way up to 35 years of age where I'm actually kind of paying attention to a lot of these things, and not just like how the world interacts with me, but how I interact with the world. And it's definitely been a positive mind shift for me, but that's not to say that it's easy. It is very difficult. It's like, even as time has gone on, like here's another weirdo thing, at least coming from me, I don't eat pork anymore. Once again, I have my weirdo reasons why I'll tell you guys later, because once you've been invested in long enough, then I know that you won't just run away. But tinfoil hat shit. But yeah, I don't eat pork anymore. And this is coming from someone that loves pepperoni, that loves bacon. Like, one of my dreams was to open up my own restaurant and call it Bacon and Things. And that would kind of, like, a lot of like the meals or the drinks would kind of be centered around how like we're able to incorporate bacon into whatever, like that's who this information is coming from. And when I say that it's hard, like when I do this thing where I get like this Stonefire like flatbread, and I use that as like pizza crust, and I'll shred some cheese on it, I'll put some tomato sauce, seasoning, all that jazz, a little homemade pizza, because I can't eat any of the frozen ones, because all the frozen pizzas, all of them made with bioengineered food ingredients, and it's like, all right, well, screw it then. It's like, I'll just make my own. And so whenever I make pizza at home, I do it that way, and I love this stuff. But so for the most part, any toppings other than like the cheese, obviously, but any toppings that I put on pizza, it's mostly just vegetables. And you know what? If you've been with me so far through this and you haven't left, you might now. I also put pineapple on that bad boy. I think you could put anything on pizza, but that's a dangerous statement because there's some weird people in the world. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think there's not much of a lesson or a conclusion with this particular life beyond the curtain, but it's kind of just like me sharing just my experience and how like I'm coming to terms with a lot of this stuff, in not just my life, but in the world as a whole. And I'm really honestly seeking positive change, right? But you got to be the change you want to see in the world. It's like, okay, and that wishy-washy stuff, but there's credence to it. There's weight to it, and that's kind of what I've been following. That's what I've been pursuing, and I feel better, and when we feel better, and when something in the world makes us feel good, we just want to share it with others. And I've shared it with the people closest to me. I've shared it with friends and stuff, and I gotta like take this time because I do YouTube as a platform. I upload videos for fun. I like it. It's enjoyable. I like the editing. Who cares if it gets a ton of views or not? Who cares if the only people that see it are a couple of people I know IRL? At the end of the day, like, this is a little like therapeutic for me, you know? If my life is The Sims, this is how I get my social meter up. And, you know, I take it for what it is and I enjoy it. And yeah. So yeah, just some anecdotes of life from me and how I'm doing. And as always, I hope you guys are great. As your so glorious, beloved Mace Valor signing off.